Hi, my friends. My name is Trey, and this is my show, Trey's Timeless 15 Minutes of Exploring on Trey's Myths and Tunes channel on Odyssey and YouTube. And today, my talk is called Everyday Abduction in the Emotionally Obedient and Working to End It. No whispering, no bickering, no back talking. I'm not skylarking. No whispering, no bickering. Satan is not a real king. Reptilians can't come to planet and steal everything. No fake ass reptile kings. Rastafari and Yeshua Christ are the only real kings. Hear ye, hear ye. Judge Winchester of Manchester, I say, no back talking, I'm not skylarking. No gesturing, no gesturing. I am not perfect, I don't know it all. I'm getting better by teaching y'all. Everyday abduction and the emotionally obedient. You have to go for your dream in the Christ. If you're not trying to live out your dream within Christ consciousness, you're going to try to come in and fuck with it again. Awareness. Be very respectful and harmless. Being very respectful and harmless is the key. You cannot do your work or play or have fun if you cannot do that. As soon as you become abusive or manipulative, they're going to come in most of the time. You have to learn to resist the entities telling you to manipulate. There's no such thing as easy money. There's no such thing as easy answers. And you have to say no to slavery. You have to understand that in the capitalist religion, there's going to be swarms of people who are going to tell you that there's no way I could know what I'm talking about. A guy in a tent who's not a slave, almost 20 years in this town full of narcissistically possessed individuals, and living with them for years and dealing with them on a daily basis. I've got boots on the ground experience, man. Okay? And so, but they're going to tell you that's not valuable, because I don't have the degree. Again, as long as you're willing to listen to these old concepts, you just get divided. Entrepreneurship, you have to realize capitalism is a religion to a lot of people. If you're going to do an entrepreneurship, you have to have discernment. What separates us? Ego identification, paying the bills, can easily become 3D possession. The simple answer takes practice, but you have to live your 3D life in 5D HD. You have to be able to somehow live your life, whatever you're doing, with the awareness of Christ. It's easier to say it in 5D HD Technicolor and not in black and white splitter tech. Okay? Black and white thinking, again, is how they're going to get you every time. You're wrong and I'm right, or I'm wrong and you're right, whatever. The West Coast community formation will require dissolving obedience to the false 3D only reality, especially when you consider they removed 5 or 6 communities in this county alone prior to the lockdown because they do not want physical community here. You cannot build one, particularly in the coast of California, with your big ass ego trip. You're going to fuck it up. That's what destroyed them all in the past, or most of them. It's going to happen again until you can stop being controlled by the parasites in your ego, and have learned through full respect to as much as possible, learn to share properly and have no hierarchy. This is why all cults fail, particularly in California. Duh. Wherever you go, there you are. That's a half truth. Because wherever you go, there you are attracting these same disgustingly unconscious personality problems you had or your parents had until you heal it. But also, there's a different astrocartography when you get hundreds or 1,000 miles away. You're dealing with completely different astrological influences, planetary influences, psychological influences, and weather, laws. I consider all 50 states to be like my 50 dysfunctional children spiritually. They all have their different things they need to heal. They all have their wonderful side, and they're all different because of the laws and the climates and the races and the economics. So you have to realize how epigenetics is very, very key in your life. And if you're not willing to see how epigenetics affects you, it's gonna bite you in the ass every time and lessen who you are because you couldn't see outside of your little me cubicle of I have to stay in Santa Cruz. Okay, you got to understand how pathetic it is if you can't see out of your ego. It's very key. You are not your 3D body. You are more about how you treat others, like karma. When you die, it's going to be more about the things you did to help or hurt others than it is about this. Sure, for the first, second, and third chakra, your base reality, you have to feed this body and have shelter. But what you do to others is probably more about what your essence gets to be. These flesh suits, when you're really respectful, can become a vehicle for dharma, teaching morality. Students can receive freedom. How about that? Instead of learning to be a slave from school. This is why YouTube wants to limit my audience and not send it to the 45 subscribers, because I'm going to teach them how to be free. Codependency is like a platonic marriage to one person. Even if you think you get your way because they gave you food, they gave you shelter, they gave you money, the energetic imprint could make you less. The energetic imprint could make you psychologically just like them, or you become one person. And even though it's only a platonic relationship, be it your mom, your dad, your son or daughter, your best friend, you end up being one person, like a shitty marriage. 1+1 = 1, because you're only half a person, because you're not contributing, or you're just taking, or you're just giving, or your ego or your higher soul is not there. So codependency is just like a platonic marriage of one person. Unless you're going to use this to build your wings, you're fucking it up by doing this. You can only you're only half. Now, if you're using it or if you're becoming whole, no more do you need everyday abductions. When you're becoming whole, you can come to peace. David Hawkins said the number one problems with humans is they don't know the difference between right and wrong. And I say you have to learn the subtleties of the difference between right and wrong. Learn to read the subtitles in your subconscious mind, because those energies can ruin your day every time you don't know they're there. Shelter, for example, is a real human need, which was weaponized for the elites and to create slavery and the international ancient crime, which is the ownership through violent takeover and war. You know, they've also done this with sex, monetize reproduction, monetize and externalize health to make you think you have to get it from somebody else. The answer is, of course, to reclaim your body, your sovereignty, your beliefs, your health, your immunity system, and take back your right to freedom. In USA, you have the right, you have to have the right, reclaim the right to warm shelter. In the last 4 months, I used to have a wigwam in this exact location, and I would always stay warm. And I tore it down because I've got to move, and this is sort of my final exam, was my show here. But you know, I feel like I've experienced this pathetic, Again, cowardliness of the homeless, not having the courage to be warm, because they didn't want to break the law or didn't have the money. Living in negative entities in your mind, your brain is in an alien psych ward with alien parasites. You remember that, okay? Spiritual co-word ace. In other words, this is where I came up with this idea, phonetics. Spiritual coward ace is when you're living inside the negative entities in your mind, in your brain. Your brain is in an alien psych ward with alien parasites. Order followers are the number one way that this is all maintained. Self-importance, number two way. The narcissistic person or the person who has the narcissistic parasitic entity can eat away at the relationship like a cancer till it suffocates all life, all creativity, and all the people around them, including themselves, are sick. Cannabis or weed activates your subconscious mind. If you have ego, or if you're a fixed sign, if you have ego trip, these parasites can get in and make you sick or others sick if you allow it. In the end, you must think of the narcissistic parasitic entities as very much the same thing as space fence for your mind, your subconscious mind. It's a sick artificial takeover. It will take it all over until it's cold and white with no love and no warmth and no feelings. And this is your karma for thinking I'm a crazy person and obeying them. And as California, after 230 years or so of infiltration, you know, think about all the takeover attempts they've had here, and look at the way people behave in California after the last couple hundred years. If you want to see what a region is like when the Dracos do their best to hijack the attitude of people, well, look at the coast of California to see that. In the end, you're going to know, if you want to ascend into the Christ, that you must reject evil inside of yourself. This is sometimes often the hardest part for most of us. It's easy to point the finger and say Bill Gates, but no, you have to get the Bill Gates mentality of taking everything outside of the inside of yourself, as well as the envy, jealousy, the greed, the hatred, and resentment that fuels the narcissistically parasitized person's personality into their violent acts, okay, into their tyrannical acts. You have to remove all those attitudes. You're never going to make it to Christ in peace. True forgiveness is you're going to have when you can attain true forgiveness for real, you'll have a feeling of clarity, of spaciousness, and then you can immediately have room for new experiences, man. You're not going to want to bring up how I used up too much hot water 10 years ago. You're going to be like, ready to talk about, ready to make up that song or make up that next business plan that helps people to be enlightened, And this is how you know there's no everyday abduction still happening. As long as you go back into bickering, as long as you feel that you have to obey these voices that compel you to fight, verbally abuse, and be a narcissistic piece of crap to your fellow man or woman or children, especially your children, you're being controlled. You're being abducted. And this was the work of, well, Eve Lorgan's work was the special occasions of, most of them had already been abducted by actual physical ETs, little gray men, the Zetas, but Eve Lorgan's book, the Alien Love Bite, and The Dark Side of Cupid, deals with the extreme case of infatuation in totally inappropriate situations, which I've said before, I've felt. But what I'm saying in these two videos really exemplifies what most of us are terrified. The reason why at least a dozen people who love to talk to me about Christ and raising frequency and the truth about the devil will never watch this channel, because they're terrified that it might be true, and then they'd have to see that their behavior was inaccurate to their higher self. It's scary. This topic is scary, but when you're willing to see that I'm not a psychopath, I'm not a schizophrenic, it's the truth. then you can learn to heal this. And I believe if you're willing to watch till the end, you have that power. And click subscribe if you want to get more videos about this type of thing. Create a great one, my family.